Hey guys, it's solving one-step equations with Miss McGann. Are you having trouble with that? Well, you can definitely do it. I'm going to show you how. One of the key things to remember with one-step equations is that one side has to stay in balance, has to equal the other side. So we really want to make sure that whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. For instance, if we had 3/4 plus something equals $1, we want those values to be the same on both sides. So if a quarter is 25 cents, what are we missing here? That's right, another quarter, another 25 cents. So the same thing happens with equations. We want to make sure this side is balanced and equal with that side. So we have to figure out what can we do to keep those in balance. What is the mystery or the mystery value, which is called a variable. To solve one-step equations, we want to make sure that whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. But we also want to make sure that when we are solving, in order to maybe shift some numbers or kind of eliminate, get the variable by itself on one side, we would do the inverse operation to get the number to the other side. So I'll kind of go through some examples to show you what that looks like. Well, inverse, if you're not familiar with what inverse means, it means the opposite. So the opposite of good or a thumbs up would be a thumbs down. Or the opposite of coming forward would be going backwards. Addition and subtraction are inverses or opposites, just like multiplication and division are opposites or inverse operations. When we see them doing an addition problem, we know we're going to subtract. We're going to do the inverse to solve. So for this example, a plus 3 equals 12, we're going to try to figure out what plus 3 equals 12. We want to make sure we keep both sides balanced on either side, the equal side. So our one step is going to be to subtract 3 from both sides. Because they're adding 3, we're going to subtract. If we subtract 3 minus 3, we're going to get 0. So we don't need to write anything there. We'll just bring down the a. But if we subtract 12 minus 3, we get 9. So yeah, good job. A must be 9. And to check, we can plug it in. Does 9 plus 3 equal 12? Yes, it does. That's a true statement. Sometimes you'll see a is the variable. Sometimes we use x. There's many different ways that you'll see the problems written. Sometimes it'll be the number, then the variable. Sometimes we'll have our number equal sign and then the variables on this other side of the equal sign. That's totally okay. We just want to make sure one side equals the other. Sometimes you even see fractions. I know, fractions. I can't do this. Decimals, oh no. But trust me, guys, it's fine. You do the same process. You're just going to subtract, if it's addition, to move it to the other side and figure out what the variable is. Also, here's an example for subtraction. So we have s minus 4 equals 8. We'll add 4 to both sides. That's the inverse operation. The opposite of subtraction is addition. And when we do that, negative 4 or minus 4 plus 4 would just give us 0. So we'd bring down the s, and then 8 plus 4 equals 12. Awesome. So s equals 12. And if you're still a little confused on, okay, well, why is minus 4 and plus 4 equal 0? Or why does minus 2 and then plus 2 get us 0 or cancels each other out? Look at my other videos about absolute value and number sense to learn more. So yes, our one step to solving this problem would have been to add, since it was a subtraction problem, and then we would have gotten our answer. Just like with addition, sometimes the subtraction problems will be written a little bit different out of order. This one you would actually have to do a couple of steps, but sometimes we'll have our number and the variable on the other side of the equation sign. Sometimes you'll see fractions. Sometimes you see decimals. It's okay, guys. All similar. Just do the opposite operation and you'll be good to go. Just add. And as long as you know how to add fractions and add decimals, you are all good. And don't get nervous when you see those negative signs. We'll talk about negatives later, but it's the same thing. You would just add to figure out what the variable equals. Sometimes people get confused when they see all these different letters. Well, this one has an S, this one has an A, this one has a T. It's okay. We're just using letters just to represent a mystery number. So you could use shapes, animals, whatever it is, that letter or that shape or that icon just represents some number. So our goal is just to figure out what number do we replace our variable with. Here's a multiplication problem. 24 equals 6c. When we have a number next to the variable, we know we're multiplying. So to do the inverse operation, the opposite of multiplication is division. And division is represented here by this fraction bar. This is a division sign. So when you see that, know that you divide. So if we divide both sides by 6, remember what we do to one side, we do to the other. We got to keep it in balance. We will end up with 4 equals c. So 24 divided by 6 is 4. And if we divide the 6 out, we'll just be left with c on this side. Sometimes, or you may have been used to seeing like, a number with an X for multiplication or times the letter, or maybe you've seen like a dot. We don't typically like to use the X as you get further on in math for multiplication symbol. And the reason why is if this is a C, but if we replaced that C, if we use the variable of X, it would be 3 times X equals 12. And yes, that makes sense for a math problem, but it kind of looks a little confusing, don't you think? And especially as we go further along, when we see two X's next to each other, it might be X squared. So just to eliminate all of that, a lot of times you'll see the number next to the letter just to imply that it's multiplication, because otherwise it could be very confusing for people. The last problem I'm going to do in this video is a division problem. So I did an example of a addition, a subtraction, multiplication, and here's division. We have t divided by 4 equals 7. So what operation is this? Division. Awesome. So then what would the inverse be? The opposite of division is multiplication. Awesome. So we're going to multiply this 4 because we're dividing by the 4. Whatever you're dividing by, you're going to multiply by. So we're going to multiply both sides by the 4. Typically, you might write times 4 up here to make it easier for you to see. But for my typing purposes, I just have it as in the steps. So that one step we're going to take is multiplying 4 on both sides. We'll get t by itself, and t equals 28. 7 times 4 is 28. Awesome. So that's what our variable is. That's what the missing number is. If we plug in 28, 28 divided by 4 is 7. So that is true. Sometimes down the road, when we start doing two-step and multi-step equations, you might see this where the variable's on the bottom. Once again, just multiply and kind of go through steps that way. You might see negative numbers. It's all good, guys. And even sometimes in math problems, you'll see the division symbol there. Instead of it being with a fraction bar, you might see t, division symbol 4. That's fine. You'll do the same thing, guys. You'll just multiply. So hope that helped with your understanding of how to solve one-step equations. Now go practice. You guys got this.